Hello, everyone. It's me, Madam Pamita. Oh my gosh, never mess with Mercury retrograde. It's the moral of the story. It's taken me 5 minutes to figure out how to get started. It's been showing me this crazy message that says we can't get your live going. Oh my gosh, it's been kind of cuckoo. Anyway, let's see if I can get my cute little sparkles going. There we go. We're doing Meet My Familiar, and my guest today is Theresa Reed, which I am so excited to be meeting with her. I am a little jet lagged. I just got back from Germany yesterday night, and so it's like I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like probably bedtime for me right now in the middle of the day, but here we go. Ah, here she is. Okay, so I'm going to bring on Theresa Reed. Hello, Theresa. While she's getting on here, I'll tell you a little bit about her. I am so discombobulated trying to get Instagram to work and all this thing. You know, didn't we know better than to schedule this for Mercury retrograde? We're
Well,
still in retrograde, right?
we have Mercury retrograde until the end of the week, and we have Mars retrograde. So, and we have a full moon coming up. And I got to tell you, I didn't even think about that when we booked it. But Instagram has been glitchy today because I've been having all kinds of issues with it. So, Madam Pamita, it's not just you.
And it's not probably all Mercury. We can't blame everything on Mercury all the
Mm-mm. We
time.
can blame it on the tech people who, I don't even want to blame it on them. Sometimes things just go wonky and they're doing the best they can do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, I know you sent me a bio, but can I just like riff on your bio a little bit
Yeah.
and tell people who you are if they as if they don't know who you are already. So, Teresa is the tarot lady, and she is one of the big bright shining stars in the tarot world. A wonderful dear friend, and I have to say, when I first met you, which was when we got together with Pleasant and all the gals when you came out to LA, I fangirled because you are such a big deal in the tarot world. And it was like, I was so excited to meet you. And just instantly, we had wonderful friendship. And you have been a dear friend for many years now. And yeah, so that's that's my version of your bio. How amazing you are, how talented you are as an astrologer, as a tarot reader, so knowledgeable and so awesomely generous with your wisdom and your knowledge. You do wonderful lives every. Are you still doing your lives in the morning on Insta?
Twice a week I
Yeah.
do those. Twice a week, Mondays and
Yeah.
Fridays.
Yeah, it's sometimes if I'm up early, I'll catch them. I'm West Coast, so sometimes I'm not even up, but sometimes I get up early and I see him and I jump on and I see you. But if you are not yet following Teresa, you can find her at the tarotlady.com
Mhm.
and also the Tarot Lady here on Instagram, and follow her, and you will get just wonderful downloads of what's going on astrologically, what's going on in tarot. You are the ultimate Gemini, so multifaceted. Of course, you're Gemini, you're tarot and astrology, and just so full of wisdom, knowledge, and generosity with that wisdom and knowledge. And so it's a joy to be a friend to you, and a joy to be hanging out with you right now. I'm so happy.
Well, I am delighted to hang out with you, and that is a beautiful intro. And I got to tell folks, when I met you that night, I didn't know you were going to show up. And I remember I was sitting there with Pleasant, Gabby Herstick, Mantis Tarot,
Yeah.
just Melissa Sanova, a lot of really amazing, warm, beautiful people. Naha Amarty, I love Naha. And all of a sudden, you come walking in. Of course, I recognized you immediately because I'm a fangirl of your work. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Madame Pamita. So I think we were both kind of like tripping out a little bit. And we just had so many great things to talk about that night. It was such a wonderful conversation. I knew we were going to be friends from that night. And I'm really grateful that we get to share space on this thing called Earth at this same time right now. So thank you. And thank you for all the wonderful work you put out there. I mean, all of us just, and I'm probably speaking for everybody who's tuning in now or watching the replay, all of us deeply appreciate your work and your candle magic book. the Parlors of Wonder with the amazing offerings you have. You are a treasure. So thank you for all you do.
So sweet. You're so sweet. So what we're doing here is not just talking about our fangirl adoration of one another and Mercury retrograde.
Oh my
Um,
God.
we're doing a thing called Meet My Familiars. So I have a book coming out in January called The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars, which is a book with recipes and spells for all different kinds of animals and working with animals in your magic. It is a real, I have to say, I just was, it was such a joyous journey writing this book because
Mhm.
it deepened my relationship with my animals around me and opened my eyes to other possibilities of animal familiars because I started thinking about like what if you have a spider familiar or what if you
Mhm.
have what if you have a an owl familiar in the wild. So I started thinking more about animals in the wild. So it was a wonderful joyful thing to create this book and I'm so excited to share it with everyone. And I wanted to remind everyone that if you pre order the book, we have a bunch of bonuses that we're giving for pre orders. You, as an author, by the way, I didn't even get into Theresa is an amazing, amazing author who has written some phenomenal books about tarot and astrology. They're gorgeous, amazing books, and you should check those out. But you, as an author, know the pre orders are really helpful to authors. So,
Mhm.
to sort of encourage people to do that pre-order rather than wait until wait until it comes out or wait until they see about the book, we give some amazing bonuses. And so you can go to animalfamiliars.com and you can check out the bonus that we're offering now. And if you pre-order now, you'll not only get this bonus, which is a $40 workshop with me. Usually I charge $40 for the full moon workshops. You'll get it for free, but there's some bonuses to come and you'll get all those bonuses. So if you don't want to miss out on all of the bonuses, now's the time to do that pre-order and you can go to animalfamiliars.com. So I got my little plug out of the way. Let's talk about your familiars. I'm so intrigued and excited to talk about your animals. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with animals and magical relationship and your familiar relationship.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I grew up in a household of people who hated animals.
Oh my God.
I know my dad was, that's a long story. So, getting close to animals was kind of touchy business for me because I've got some weird stories that I won't share them because it was an interesting upbringing. Ironically, the people who hated animals ended up getting a dog at some point when I was an adult, and suddenly they were animal lovers. I don't know. It was weird. Who knows why people do what they do? So I remember that for me, opening up to animals as a domestic pet was something that was very touchy, very like nerve-wracking, lots and lots of trust issues around the whole topic of that. And when I moved in with my husband, he had a cat named Midnight. And so Midnight was a very classy gentleman and very relaxed and chill. And he proved that I can be safe with animals. I can cohabitate with them and nothing terrible was going to happen. And so Midnight wasn't really technically my cat, but he paved the way for me getting my first real familiar, which was a cat named Sparkle. And actually, Sparkle came into our life. I know I had a dream about this cat, I swear. And I woke up from the dream, and the dream was a little black cat was hiding behind like some kind of cabinet. And the cat came out and was wearing a little ring, a little diamond ring as like a crown on one of his ears. And in the dream, I said, "Oh my God, you're so sassy. I'm going to call you Sassy." And I woke up and I told my husband about it, but I got the name goofed up and I said I named the cat Sparkle in this dream. And then kind of forgot about it. And about a week or two later, a client asked me, "Hey, are you in the market for a cat? I need to give this cat, I need to have someone adopt it." And I said, "What's the cat like?" She says, "Well, it's a kitten, it's about 8 months old, it's a black cat, it's a male." And I said, "It's mine. It's meant to be." And so
Hmm.
we took Sparkle in, and I bonded with that cat immediately. This cat hated everybody except me. So of course I got a moon in Scorpio. That's my kind of cat. You know, it's like good, but you're just mine. Super loyal, the most amazing cat, super neurotic. He played fetch and just had a very protective vibe for me. I felt very Queen of Wands with this cat.
Ah,
In
I
fact,
love it.
one of my friends, Jurg, who had come in for an appointment once, he reminded me of this after Sparkle passed away. He said, I remember that cat. That cat bit me. I think you praised him for that. And I'm like, yes. So Sparkle was really protective. And I remember feeling that sense that it was safe to be with this cat, and this cat was going to keep me safe. And so that was my first real familiar. Now, Sparkle's been gone for a while. I've had other cats since then. Daozen, who was the absolute master of all masters. This cat also came into our life really in a weird way. We went to adopt a different cat, and we did adopt the other cat too. But Daozen ended up sticking his paw out of the cage and grabbing onto my husband. And my husband says, I think this cat is trying to come home with us. And so we took him home. The other cat actually passed away about a year later. The cat was really sick. But Daozen took over our whole lives for about 17 years. Him and Sparkle hated each other's guts. So that was a whole nother thing. So I had to deal with Sparkle wanting to protect me and this other cat just coming in, really being big and taking over the house. So it was kind of a weird dynamic. And then Sparkle passed, and so of course we wanted to get another cat right away. And I said, I've got to get another black cat. I've got to recreate that. So we went to the Humane Society, and we always adopt our cats, by the way. And I remember seeing this cat online. And I'm like, okay, here's a little black cat. We have to go there. We got to get this cat. And we went there, and there were so many people there standing outside that cat's little, habitat. And I'm like, we've got to block it. I've got to get in the way here so nobody looks at this cat. And I started telling people, look at that orange cat over there. Because I really felt that cat's vibe. And we walked in, we got to go in and visit the cat. And as soon as we put him in our hands, this little guy just started purring like a motor. And it felt like home. And so we took him home. He's been with us now for 17 years. Daozen has been gone for a few. His name is Monkey. And Monkey is an elderly gent with a lot of health problems. But this cat has 9 lives. And I'm going to say this in all kindness, it's the dumbest cat we've ever had in our lives. Just
He's
the,
he's
oh my
he's
God.
differently abled. That's
He's
what
a
you have
himbo.
to.
He's a himbo. He came to us, and after he got to be an adult cat, he had this really muscular, sculpted body. So he's a beautiful cat, little panther, but not the brightest bulb. And I'm like, he's a himbo. But it's so funny the energy he brings into the house. Now he's the only cat. He's very elderly. He's, like I said, he's got a lot of health problems.
Yeah.
But he just brings so much humor. It's like that's his spirit. His spirit is humor. He's whimsical. He's got his own little demands. He's a character. Every cat has been very different, but they've all brought so much magic into our lives.
Ah, you bring up this thing that I talk about in the book, and I've talked, and as I've been interviewing, my interest has been like, let's have like people. I have some people that are coming on that I don't know very well, but people I know pretty well, like you and Honorio, and I've had these people on that I know well, and and I'm like, we've never really talked about this
Mhm.
topic, and to find out these stories that confirm what I talked about in the book is like absolutely so exciting for me. And one of the things is how these very interesting ways that these familiars come into our life. It is not, I'm not necessarily, I'm going to go to the breeder. I'm going to find this cat. I'm looking for they sometimes pop into
Ye-
our lives. Like
Yes.
this, as you were talking about how Sparkle was the one that your client brought to you, right? Was the one your client?
Yes.
Yeah. And this,
After he showed up in a dream.
right? Like these kind of very magical things. Yes, sometimes we're looking like my cat, my familiar Glinda. I was actually looking at a different cat and I
Mhm.
wasn't interested in her. And that cat was not available and only she was available. And I know she planned that.
Yes.
I don't know what she did. But then I was like, well, she's the only one here and I really want a cat, so I'll take her. I have never once looked back or regretted that choice. Even at first, if I was like, well, she wasn't what I was looking for. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Right.
So this interesting way that these wonderful familiars will pop up into our life in very magical ways through dream work, through people sometimes leaving them on our doorstep,
Yes.
or these kinds of situations. I think these are a sign that these animals are they're doing their magic to get to us. We're not actively looking at we're not actively looking out there for them. So, and then also too, the knowing, that inner knowing that you had when you held your little himbo monkey.
With his
I love that.
sculpted body.
When you just know you have you being an intuitive, of course, are listening to your intuition and having that knowing. I have a question for you that just kind of popped up just in my mind right now. Is there a card that you would say in the tarot that would reflect, like, if somebody were, um, that would suggest to someone it's time to have a familiar or deepen
Mm.
their relationship, or to bring one into their life? Is there a card that they could, let's say, for example, put on their altar that would draw that familiar to them or invite that familiar or something? Any connection with tarot and familiars that you could
I'm a
come up with?
huge believer in being able to manifest and bring something about. So I would say that if you're looking for a dog and you really want to take the plunge and bring a pup into your life, the Fool is the card you need to be focusing on. You know,
100%.
and
Yeah.
also for me, when it comes to cats, it's always the Queen of Wands with that little black cat. So that is the animal that I would be choosing for that. Now, if you're looking for a fish, you might want to look at maybe the moon because we got that little lobster creature. You could look at anything with water. The Page of Cups would be lovely if you want to take on a little fish
I
companion.
always think of
If you,
Page of Cups as being like the animal psychic because
yes,
he's talking to that fish. And I think that, to me, and he's young and open, and the heart is open, and the intuition is open. And I think of that when I think of Page of Cups. So, yes, keep going.
yep. Any page also could represent a young animal. So any page. And of course, we could use like one of the knights if we're looking to bring a horse into our lives. So you really want to look at the cards literally. And for birds, if you're a bird person, like my friend Maria, shout out to Maria, you might look at the star card. It's got that little bird in the backdrop. You know, really look for the animal in the card that you would like to bring into your life that you want to call in and put that up on your altar. And that way, then you can focus on finding the ideal companion for you. Now, of course, when it comes to wild animals, also the moon, I would say is a great card because it really does have that wild vibe to it. And when I'm talking about wild animals, I'm not talking about wild animal you bring into your home. I'm talking about connecting with a familiar that you may see out in the wild. Because a lot of us, we have certain animals we look to for signs, right?
Hmm.
Like for me, I've always been a big fan of deer. When I see deer, I'm like, okay, we got a sign coming. That's a good omen for me. So deer are one of my little animals, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you might also put the moon up to conjure like a connection with a particular, wild animal. And then if you're doing stuff like that too, pay attention to your dreams because your dreams might give you messages about what what wild familiar might be for you. And by the way, if you're a goat lover, don't forget the devil. Devil looks like a
Yeah.
goat. If you're
Yes,
looking for a
absolutely.
goat, if you guys are looking to get a little Benny action in your world, we got to get the devil.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, this is, brought up something that I've never really thought of, is that, yeah, there's so many different animals that are depicted. I always just think of the cat or the fish or the dog, but we do have horses and we do have birds and we do have all these other animals. And absolutely 100%, as I talk about in my book, when we're working with wild animals, we want to respect their wild nature, but we
Yep.
get to connect with that wild nature. We don't want to I don't advocate domesticating wild animals. I
Mm-mm.
advocate meeting them on their turf in a safe way. Obviously, you're
Hmm.
not going to walk up to don't do the grizzly man thing. That didn't work out so well for him. you
No.
know um, but to have that connection, whether it is seen at a distance or just having that moment. I think there's something so beautiful when we have a moment of eye contact with a deer, with a fox. Those
Yes.
can be those brief moments can be as powerful as like day to day with your domestic animals. So don't equate time with the intensity or the energy exchange. Energy doesn't need time. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a different experience. So absolutely, having that moment where you and the deer are
Hmm.
connecting is
My
so.
God.
This is historically through magic one of those things. Seeing a stag was always seen as a really powerful sign of you stepping into your power and courage and all of those things. So absolutely. Oh, I just love that so much. I
I
love that.
would also say to pay attention to the wild animals that really terrify you because there's magic in there too. You know, sometimes the thing we're afraid of it because it's so powerful and there's something really potent. Like, for example, I'm terrified of moose. I'm just terrified of them. And they're so actually elegant and gentle until you push them, which is
Hmm.
kind of like my personality. I'm terrifying when I get mad. But in the most part, I'm just kind of like walking around scratching my horns,
Yeah.
maybe looking for something to eat, a snack. So, I really think about things like that too. What animal really strikes a strong feeling in you? Why? What is that? What are you learning from that? What
Yeah.
medicine is there in there for you from
Uh,
that animal that you are feeling these strong feelings for it? We oftentimes think about, the animals that we're attracted to, but what about the ones that scare us? What about the ones that repel us? What's going on there?
yeah.
Mm.
That is really interesting. The ones that scare me, I'm not scared of snakes. I love snakes. I had a pet snake, not scared of spiders. I'm scared of skittering animals,
Oh, I
roaches
think,
and
yeah.
mice.
Oh, I don't mind mice, but roaches. I grew up in a house where in the country, so we had mice, rats, skunks, possums, raccoons. All of that was always there. I grew up in a rural
Yeah.
area. We didn't have cockroaches, though. Thank God. I am terrified of cockroaches. And when I lived in New York, every place has roaches. It
Oh,
doesn't matter if you're in the nicest hotel, there are
cleanest.
roaches
Yeah.
there. You just can't see them.
Yeah.
I don't
So those
want them.
those are the ones that scare me that are skittery. That's I don't know what that is teaching me, Teresa. You're gonna have to don't move so fast. Don't be so hyper.
Well,
Maybe that's what
think
it's
about
telling me.
think about that skittery energy. When we are around people who are acting skittery, I mean, right away, what do? We feel like we're on high alert because they're not safe.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
absolutely something there about trust,
Yeah.
wanting to feel trust. And what is that saying about what you need to feel trust?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like people who act skittery. If I'm at a party and someone's acting like something's up, it reminds me of, did you ever watch the movie? What was it? It was the movie about the Wonderland murders. And I
I
can't
don't
remember,
watch
Boogie Nights.
it. Oh, Boogie
Okay,
Nights. Yes,
there's
yes.
a scene in there where they're at this guy's house and he's lighting off these fireworks and it's real skittery. That's like that cockroach energy. Like something's gonna happen that's icky and gross.
Unpredictable. Don't know. You can't control.
Unpredictable.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what does this have to, what do you need to control here?
I
Or
haven't,
not?
or maybe I have a need to control, or maybe I'm just like, hey, let's meet in a way that is easy for both of us, not in a way that's like, so yeah, those are my two that and mice. I have had mice, and that's why I actually got Glinda is because I had a mouse, but I think that mouse was the messenger to bring Glinda into my life.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. That is so wild. Yes, that is wild. But to work with, these animals that you're fearful of, that is a really interesting, deep. I mean, I almost want to say that can be a little bit of our shadow work, right? That we're looking at
Yes.
what we're afraid of. What are we fearing? What makes us nervous? Why do we feel, you know, why does somebody who's skittery make us feel anxious? We can remove ourselves from the situation. Maybe we have more power than we realize, and maybe
Yes.
that's another thing to reflect on there. So
And when we
moose,
think
that's so
and
interesting.
when we think about cockroaches too, the one thing I will say, they're survivors.
Yeah.
My daughter always says, she goes, Mom, if the end of the world comes, the only people that are going to be around then, the only thing that's going to survive are the cockroaches, you and Keith Richards.
Hey, that you and Keith Richards would be, that'd be a fun hang.
I do it. Keith, give me a call.
Oh my gosh. Well, and talking about is there any recommendations that you would have for somebody? that would want to invite, like, or any
Mhm.
tip, trick, if they want to invite one, or if they want to, deepen their connection with their animal? Is there anything, piece of advice or wisdom that you could offer people that are watching this about
Well,
that?
I think the tarot cards are really, like we mentioned earlier, a great way to call in a familiar.
Mhm.
I really, you have that visual image of what you want, but I think also, and I'm a big fan of like vision boards and setting intentions. So, one of the things you might want to do is set an intention by writing about the ideal day with your ideal pet, what that pet is like,
Mm.
what kind of energy they bring into your day, what magic they're bringing into your world. You can write that all out. And when you're writing it down, I really feel you're putting things out to the universe. That's my Gemini side. But even a vision board, cutting out pictures like of the ideal pet, but also putting words up, finding words that describe the quality. Like, for example, if I was going to be using that method, I would, of course, always go with a black cat because I'm a fond of them. But I might be picking words like intelligent, gentle, lap sitter. I would be looking for things like that to put up there so I could really call in the ideal animal. I also think sometimes, and this is really weird, when you start looking online for them, like just browsing, when you start browsing like the Humane Society or whatnot, I think that sometimes it's the universe sees that you're looking, you're shopping, and they make it happen. It's kind of like the other day, a couple weeks ago. This happens to me, and I have to be very careful sometimes. We had to replace the refrigerator for my tenant. And then I was like thinking about my washer and dryer, and I'm like, God, these things are really old. Eventually, I'm going to need a new one. And while I was at the Best Buy, I was looking at washers and dryers when I was picking up that fridge. And lo and behold, my washer died like 2 weeks later. So, and I've had this happen with a car too, where I had a car and I'm like, oh, this car's getting kind of old. And then someone did a hit and run and totaled my car in the middle of the night. And I had to get a new car. So, we got to be very careful of putting that energy out there. But that's something, if you find like you're just shopping and looking and you're just like constantly being drawn, that is a way of calling it in. So these are really simple things. Use your tarot card, write down your intention, create a vision board. Just start looking at all of the sites for your ideal animal, and they're going to find you. They're going to know you're looking for them.
Well, I'd also argue that you're an intuitive, and maybe you're looking at the washing machine because on some level you know it's going to die.
Well, I've got to tell you, all my appliances lately have been really misbehaving. The knob just broke on my damn stove, and I'm like, what? I don't want to get a new stove. I don't want to get a new stove. So I'm trying to figure out how to fix this knob because we don't want to go there.
Yeah, so you go look on YouTube at fix it videos instead of looking at new stoves. That's the that's the answer.
Yes. But anyhow, but all appliances aside, but for our ideal animals, it can be like calling in a lover. When we're
Yeah.
calling in a lover, what are we doing? We're creating a list of the ideal characteristics, what we want them to look like. Really think about that with your familiars, but think also of the magic that you want them to bring into your life.
Oh my gosh,
What
that's
do you want them to do?
such wise words. I mean, this is something I always think of when you write something down, you won't write it down unless you're serious.
Yep.
You won't write it down. You won't commit that time to write something unless you really, really want it, whether it's a lover or a job or a cat or a dog or a horse or whatever. If you're like, it's fun to like say, like, I was like, maybe I want a pet goat. Maybe I want, and Manfred, my partner, was like, goats smell. Are you crazy?
Goats
Plastic
are,
goat. But
yeah,
I,
goats have an attitude, but plastic goats are pretty awesome.
yeah. But I'm like, I would not sit down and commit to writing about a goat because it was a fantasy. You know what I mean? I was daydreaming and having fun thinking, bought a book about how to raise miniature goats and all of this stuff, but I didn't actually really commit to it. So I do think there's that somehow I call it creating a contract with the universe. When you sit down and you write it down, you're serious.
Yeah.
So you won't
Yep.
write it unless you're serious. It just doesn't seem to like your body will sort of not want to do it and you'll put it off because that it does require that commitment. And yeah, so I love that. I love that tip.
Words are
Words
magical.
are
Words
Magical.
are very magical. When we are talking about something constantly or writing it, we're putting something out there to the universe. That's why we got to be careful that we're not saying negative things about familiars either, like, oh, that stupid cat or
Yeah.
whatnot. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. Don't be putting that energy out there.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, it was so wonderful to get together with you and to talk about your beautiful babies. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And let's remind everyone where they can find you. TheTarotLady.com is your
Yep.
website. Are you doing readings or you're not doing readings right now? I think,
No.
yeah, you're
I
doing just
retired.
teaching.
Yeah, I retired for reading for the public in 2020.
I
So I
remember
don't do that
that.
anymore. Yep, I teach, I write. I really focus on my writing career and teaching. And I'm retiring from all of that in 5 years also. So I'm like, if you want to study with me, y'all got about 5 years for that. And I do most of my teaching over on Patreon. So I have Patreon, The Tarot Lady. You can find me there. I'm here twice a week. But that's what I'm really focused on right now. I've got to get more books done. And as a writer, they take a lot of time and energy. So for me, it's about let me write, let me teach. And that's what I'm meant to do at this stage in my life.
I love that. I love that. Well, they can find you over there. They can learn from you, but you better get on it. Don't wait too long to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can, of course, find you here under the Tarot Lady as your moniker over here. I want to remind everyone to go to animalfamiliars.com. You will find out about my new book coming out in January, The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars, and how you can pre-order and
Mm-hmm.
get a whole bunch of bonuses. The book itself is like $17 and you get a $40 workshop. I think that's a pretty good deal. And yeah, and go check it out. So go to animalfamiliars.com. Thank you so much, Theresa. It was just great to hang out with you and talk with you. I just love you
Yes.
so much, and it was just so wonderful to spend this time
Love
with
you
you.
too. Love your new book and congratulations. I can't believe nobody ever thought to write this book. And people, you're going to want this one. If you're an animal lover or you want to call in your animals, I already read the book. Get it. Get it. Get on
Yeah.
it.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Well, I'll see. Hopefully, we'll talk to you soon. We'll have a chat sometime offline, off of the,
Yes.
some other way in some other format. Thank you again so much, and thank you guys for watching and hanging out. Well, this will be on YouTube and also here on Instagram, so it'll live on YouTube. I love YouTube because it will have like an archive that you can watch it whenever, so it'll live there. And thanks again. Thanks everybody watching. And thank you, Theresa. And it's so great to see you. All right, everybody.
Great to see you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.